very different from the big picture learners who tend to live in the moment. And if their attention has wandered and you ask them a question, if you've brought them up in a Christian home and they've gone to Sunday school and things, they have default answers. I don't know if you've noticed this, but you ask them a question and they're like, Jesus? They're like, no. And they're like, in the Bible? Like, it's a question, it's sort of an answer in a question form, like, no, but that was a good try, because they know that sooner or later that's going to be an answer. The answer will be Jesus or in the Bible soon, if they just hang in there long enough. So that won't happen as much with your detail learners. These are the kids who plan. They plan for themselves and they will plan for you if given the opportunity. These are the kids you have to watch with, especially if they're not the struggling learners, but they have siblings who are, because it's very easy to give them more responsibility than they should have, and they miss their childhood that way, because they are willing and believe they are able to step in and take your place. Mom, I'll handle this. No, I'm the mom, you go frolic and play. And I actually had to tell Beth, you go play, I'll take care of this. Because she was so capable, she was so willing, and so on top of things. But be sure that you don't overburden them. They like to go in order. No skipping around. If you change up your plan for the day, try to tell them in advance. They're not always the most flexible of students, so you can really throw them for a loop if you change the order that you typically do. They like the structure, they like the predictability. They don't like to skip around. They want to know what to expect, what just happened, and what's coming next. They're much more linear in the way that they process information. They like details and facts, and they don't care so much for the guessing and the predicting. It frustrates them. You know why? Because somebody knows the right answer already, so why do I have to go guessing? There's a right answer somewhere. There's an exact answer, and that's what I want. I don't want to guess. I want to know. And that's the way the detail learners, the more left brain logical thinkers are. They're very time-oriented. So they'll say, you said this lesson would last about a half hour. Mom, it's been 37 minutes. Are we about finished? You know, they don't have a lot of wiggle room for you that way. The structure and the predictability is important to them. They feel a sense of security from knowing every night at 7 o'clock, that's our bedtime. Every morning by 8 o'clock, we need to be starting our first lesson of the day. They derive comfort from structure and predictability. Your big picture learners feel squished by structure and predictability. They want to push the margins. They want to mix it up and make it more interesting. The detail learner needs that. And if you have kids who are on the autism spectrum, that structure and predictability can be very helpful for them as they transition through their daily activities. They tend to be pretty logical. So if you say something that doesn't make sense or isn't consistent with something they already know, they need to ask you about that. Well, if that's true, then how does this happen? And you can see the little wheels turning. So, you know, if something comes out, even if the moment you say it, you realize, oops, that's not right, your kid's already reminding you, excuse me, that's not quite what you said before, so I'm confused. These are the kids who like to finish what they start. Whereas your big picture, your right brain learner, they're fine if you go, you know what, we have to go to the doctor's appointment now, close your books and we'll come back to it. Like, all right, maybe we won't have time to come back to it either, and that would be even better. Your detail learner is like, oh, okay, all right, but it's sort of hanging over them, that sense of, I just want to finish it. I just want to complete it. You know, you don't see these kids getting 3/4 of the way through a book and abandoning it. And the gifting here is they can come up with the ideas, but even if they don't come up with the ideas, if they're around visionaries, they can help you get there. They can tell you what needs to happen. So you have an idea. These are the kinds of learners who can say, well, if you want to make that happen, you're going to need this as your foundation. You're going to have this, this, and this in place. So really, we need both kinds of learners. And it's challenging when you have that mix in the family but it also is a blessing to have both types and different perspectives. I'd be interested to see how many right brain adults have married left brain adults. Yes? Very different. And you're drawn to them while being slightly afraid and in awe because they are so different than you are, but you appreciate that. A lot of us have strengths, but sometimes I tell my family, at least you can get away from me for a while. Where can I go? Wherever I go, there I am. If I go to the basement, lo, I am there. If I go to my room, there I am also. I can't escape me, but at least you can have some space once in a while. So here are some ways to adapt curriculum, regardless of which specific curriculum you're using. These are general ideas that you can use and adapt to your specific situation. You want to adjust the amount of work that you give to your student. So if you have someone who is struggling with mathematics, try letting them do just the odd-numbered problems. If they're getting them all right, they're showing you that they understand and they know. If they're not, then you know that they need more practice. The next day, do the even-numbered problems from a lesson. A lot of our math is either spiral or incremental in its approach, but you have a lot of repetition. And the big picture learners, the struggling learners, they don't like anything that feels like busy work. So if they can get the work done and show you competency in half the amount of problems, and it might still take them as long as it would take a non-struggling learner to get those half set done, then they're showing you that they understand, and that's the goal. I think we have to get away a little bit from our school mindset into the freedom and flexibility of homeschooling mindset. And our goal isn't to get through the material, our goal is for them to learn the material. It might take us longer, it might look differently, but that's part of the beauty of homeschooling is that we can adapt and adjust and allow for this. And remember, the goal is to learn, not to finish on a timeline that's set up for the average learner. Sometimes I would use the frames and say, just read this paragraph to me. You don't need to read the whole page out loud right now. If you have a struggling reader, I read out loud some, you read out loud some, and we take turns so that I don't get into frustration. If you're overwhelmed by math, let's just do the problems in pink right now. Let's see how you do with that. Focus in, make it a little bit more reasonable. I have this slide to remind me if you suspect your child has some vision issues. I would encourage you to see a developmental optometrist. Your child can have 20/20 visual acuity and still have a visual processing problem. The eyes may not be working well together. The letters might look like they're a little jumpy on the page. Your child may not be able to tell you that because it's all they've ever known. They think it looks that way to everybody. So, have your child's vision checked if they're struggling with close-up work, if they're struggling with look at a board and copy something down. If reading, they complain that their eye's tired, or you see them reading covering one eye at a time, anything like that. But go beyond the visual acuity testing and see a developmental optometrist who will actually check how is the peripheral vision, how are the eyes tracking, how are the eyes working together, at what point do the eyes stop working well and things become blurry, and they are much more in-depth and will give you valuable information in your homeschool. Some kids have scotopic sensitivity syndrome and do better with colored overlays. And the colored overlays filter out certain aspects of the light spectrum. And for kids this works for, the letters stay still for them. Stop jumping around, they're not fuzzy, blurry, jiggly. I'm not trained in scotopic sensitivity syndrome, but I'll tell you a website to check out if you want to learn more about it. It's irlen.com, I-R-L-E-N, irlen.com. I was kind of waiting for somebody to say bingo. Like, oh, that was slow. irlen.com. She has written a book, Reading by the Colors. It's been out for years. I got my copy at Half Price Books years ago. But Reading by the Colors. And she talks about scotopic sensitivity syndrome on her website as well to help you understand more about that. I just had the color overlays because I was desperate to have anything that would help focus my kids' attention. I let them pick which colors they like. Also use the heads-up readers. If you have kids with visual tracking difficulties or dyslexic tendencies, the readers block above and below the line in print to help the eyes stay on the line that they're reading. A lot of adults with dyslexia say, that's what I've done all my life with 2 pieces of paper. This is doing it for you, and it gives the color too. And for those of you who are approaching 170 years in homeschool years as well, this will help you with phone books, with your Bible reading, and help you focus on one line, follow it all the way across.